Happy Sunday evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Believe. I am the host, Cortland Jones, author, educator, and entrepreneur. And I want to thank you for joining me today. I'm excited. This is my very first broadcast live here with Vision and Purpose Media Productions, owned by Karen McConnell Jones. I just want to thank everybody who's currently here with me, as well as through IG Live and Facebook Live. Believe is my show where I offer the opportunity for viewers, those who are following me, to be inspired, to be influenced, and impacted in a way that helps you to grow, that helps you to be transformed. So hang in there with us, and let's see what unfolds as we watch this show today. All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I want to dedicate this first show both to you, my audience, as well as to my oldest brother, Eugene Jones. He, as my oldest brother, is a great influence in who I am today and what I've decided to do moving forward in my faith walk with Jesus Christ, and how I seek to make use of who I am, my gifts, and my abilities to impact the world around me, being both a positive contributor to myself as well as to my community. Right before his departure, he had a lot of conversations with me with regard to Cortland, as well as you speak, the things that you talk about when I watch what you do, along with my co-founder, Shauna, and Shauna F. King, and our nonprofit, The Better Place Incorporated. He was like, man, you need to start doing the video content, what's going on YouTube. And I told him, I said, Eugene, when that door opens for me, I will gladly walk through it. And I'm just grateful at this point in my life and what I do, both as an educator and as an entrepreneur, as well as an author, that I have these opportunities and these outlets to just share my faith, to share the things that I believe in with those around me, for those who are sincerely seeking to prosper, to live, to thrive, to overcome, to move forward. I'm really just grateful for this opportunity to be able to encourage you. So those that have taken the time to stop by to see what's going on with the show, trust me, I believe you will benefit and be blessed from what I will be sharing. So along with dedicating this show to my oldest brother, Eugene Jones, I'm also dedicating this show to you, to my audience, to my viewers, to my followers and listeners. The biggest thing I want you to take away from my first show, Believe, where I look to inspire, influence, and impact those who tune in. There are four specific things I want to be able to cover, both in this show and the next show that will take place in November. So my show will air every second and fourth Sunday at 6:00 p.m. And I'm looking forward to that. The things I want you to take away from this first show is character, confidence, capability, and communication. Character, confidence, capability, and communication. So whatever I don't get the chance to cover in this first show, I'm definitely going to follow up with that in November on the second Sunday at 6:00 p.m. So today, what I want to leave with you on the subject of character I'm a huge fan of the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And in the time I read that information, along with the information that was shared through the 7 Habits of Highly Effective Teams, one of the things that always stood out to me in that content, my biggest takeaway from what I read, were the operating principles that were identified to help you to be able to operate in a way that led to success. For me, I believe success is relative. I believe everybody has the potential and ability to be successful. What that success looks like for one person doesn't diminish success for someone else. So when I think about what I read and what I took away from that book, the biggest thing was the operating principles. So when I think about character, that's what I think about. I believe that character really is just a manifestation of the things that we think, the things that we say, and the things that we do. So the things that we think, say, and do is the reflection of our character. But what I'm also learning is that when we choose to identify principles or operating principles by which we can then succeed or grow or evolve, having a focal point by which I will seek to or choose to operate, that's what I also understand as character now. And one example I'll give you, I remember when I was working on the high school level at Frederick Douglass High School. And for a 2-year period, I decided I wanted to be inspirational. I had a huge admiration, still do to this day, for Dr. King, Dr. Martin Luther King. And at the time I was going through separation and divorce, I spent a lot of time listening to his sermons and his speeches. And it impacted me in a very profound way. I had more respect, love, and value for him as a person when I began to hear about the things that he encountered as a result of what he was seeking to do to better the lives of others. And so when I think about operating principles and why I value him, I decided from that moment, I want to be inspirational. You know, I would never try to fill the shoes of Dr. King, but by watching his life and observing what he did with his life, my desire was to be inspirational. So to me, that's an operating principle. And so then I have to decide, well, what am I going to do? How am I going to operate that would allow me to kind of like emulate this operating principle? And there was a 2-year period where I was working at Frederick Douglass High School, where I was nominated by the students as the most inspirational staff member in the high school community. And that was right around the time I decided that I wanted to be inspirational. And I felt like that was confirmation or affirmation that I was operating within that principle of being inspirational. So when I think about the subject of character, what I'm talking about is how can you identify based on where you are today in order to get to where you're trying to go? Do you need more patience? Do you need more wisdom? Do you need more insight? Do you need to demonstrate more initiative? Do you need to be more loving, more kind, more compassionate? So when I think about operating principles, it's identifying a specific behavior or action that you want to see manifest in your life, and then being more intentional to operate in that principle, and then watch how operating in that principle can bring about results, change, growth in your life. So when I think about character, that's what I'm talking about. So I said today I want to leave you with 4 specific principles by which, if you operate in these principles, you will see change and growth in your own life. So we started with character and we talked about operating principles. The next one I want to talk about is confidence. So when I think about confidence, I'm thinking about the belief in self that leads to taking action, that leads to being able to position yourself to see the results that you're looking for. When I think about confidence, and on the other side of the break, I'm going to get a little bit more into it as well, I'm thinking about the importance and the essential belief in self that actually motivates and moves me to take action. Sometimes I believe when people hear about confidence or self-confidence, they're thinking that I'm referring to confidence in self with an exclusion of confidence in God. And that is not what I'm talking about. I do believe God wants us to be confident in who we are. And I believe it's essential to be confident in who we are, along with being confident in God. So there are three things that I've learned about the subject of confidence before we take this break. And then I'll talk about it a little bit more after the break. I believe we all have a general confidence in self that allows us to do what it is that we do. We wouldn't do what we do if we didn't think we were confident in our ability to do it. So I think we all have a confidence that allows us to do what we do. But then there's a confidence that comes from learning something new, like me sitting here in this studio and going live. As we continue to see progress and growth in that new thing we're learning, we gain confidence in something we initially didn't have confidence in. But then the third level of confidence that I believe is essential to really helping us exceed our own limitations. And that's the confidence we gain from once failing at something, but then learning how to move forward from it and experience victory and the ability to be able to overcome obstacles that once caused us to feel defeated or even discouraged. I think that's a supreme level of confidence, because once we experience that level of confidence, we never feel like there's anything we can't achieve. Confidence in God is a whole nother level, because usually the things that God is going to ask us to do, we would never think that we would have the ability to do it. And so when I come back from my break, one of the biggest things I'm going to talk about is being able to help us make that distinction of why it's important to be confident in ourselves, but then also what begins to happen as we learn how to be confident in God, and how that begins to transform our lives in a way that not only blesses and benefits us, but also blesses and benefits other people. So, let me kind of go back and make sure everybody understands what I've been sharing at this point, just in case at the point in which you came in. In this show, Believe, my goal is to inspire, influence, and impact others, my viewers, my followers, those who take the time to tune in to hear what I'm saying. And today's show specifically is dedicated to you as the viewer, the person who is tuning in and they're at a point in their life where they feel like there's more to life than what's going on right now. I believe it, or at least I desire to see something more than what's going on in my life. My brother and I actually used to talk about that. And so on the other side of the break, those are the things that I'm going to cover with you on the subject of confidence. I want to talk to you today about character. I want to talk to you today about confidence. I want to talk to you today about capability. And I also want to talk to you about communication. So I hope something I've shared so far has been beneficial to you. And I definitely hope you'll tune in and remain with me on the other side of this break so we can learn more about what these principles can do for our lives.
It is key that you mind your mental health.
Hey guys, how's everyone doing this week?
Hi.
Use the 5 keys to mental movement.
This week has been a really monumental week for me. I realized that I was not being myself.
Reaching out.
Be positive attitude person self, like you guys know me to be.
Staying upbeat.
And get back to that happy, cheery self of me.
This week's been kind of
being
stressful,
creative.
All of the workload that we have on online learning. So I've been trying to use different platforms and different websites to help ease my mind and ease my stress.
And what about you, Marjorie?
Well, you guys know me. I just love to work with others and serve them.
Serving others.
Is that when I serve others, my mind is off of myself.
That's right. And don't forget, self-care is key.
Self-care.
All right. So see you guys next week.
Right.
Bye.
Your mind matters.
By Karen McConnell Jones. So thank you, Karen, for allowing me the opportunity to be a part of your show and your broadcast. And I want to thank everybody who has tuned in today. Before the break, I dedicated this show to my oldest brother, who has since departed, Eugene Jones. He is a huge influence on who I am today and where I've come in my journey. Before he departed, talked exclusively about my need to make sure that I considered being involved in media productions. And so I believe this really is the fulfillment of the things that he was sharing with me. I really believe that God was using him to help me to understand where I was headed. And so I really appreciate his support as my oldest brother and the way that he affirmed me and acknowledged the things that he did about who I am as his youngest brother. So I really value my experience with him and the privilege that I had to have him as my oldest brother and the impact that he had on my life. I also dedicated this show to you, my viewer, as I stated earlier. Some of you may just be tuning in. And today specifically, I wanted to be able to focus on 4 components of what I feel that has helped transform my life. I want to share with you today. I am a follower of Jesus Christ. I do believe Jesus Christ is the Son of God who died on the cross for our sins. I have no shame in that. A lot of what I share is inspired by that. But for those who are here with me today, I specifically wanted to be able to talk with you, to encourage you in the things that I have learned so that you can apply them to your life as well. And prior to the last break, I talked about those 4 components, specifically character, confidence, capability, and communication. And what inspired my desire to want to talk about character had to do a lot with my being influenced by reading the book, The 7 Habits of Highly Successful People, along with Sean Covey's book, The 7 Habits of Highly Successful Teens. My biggest takeaway from reading the content of both of those books by Stephen Covey and Sean Covey was the operating principles. It really stood out to me how just focusing on or identifying specific principles like love, joy, peace, kindness, gentleness, patience, initiative, fortitude, resolve, being able to focus on these operating principles and then being intentional about how you can demonstrate them in your life. That's part of what has contributed to where I am today. And so I wanted to be able to pass along the things that I have learned as I continue to grow and evolve and who I am as an educator, as an author, as well as an entrepreneur to support, to benefit and bless others as God has blessed me. So we started the conversation about character, and I had shared the story about how at one point, as I was going through separation and divorce, I was listening to a lot of different YouTube speeches of Dr. King and his sermons. And in the course of learning more about him and who he is, not just the things that we all know from a historical perspective, but just how his life was impacted personally because of the sacrifices that it made me admire him more as a man to see what he gave up for the benefit of us all. But in listening to him talk, I decided I wanted to be inspirational. That's what I shared before the break. And for 2 consecutive years when I was at Frederick Douglass High School, the student body nominated me as the most inspirational staff member. And I felt like that was affirmation of me being intentional about seeking to operate with that operating principle of being inspirational. And so I've seen how applying these principles are effective and they do work. And so for you as an individual, what is an operating principle that you can identify beginning today that can help you move, feel like you're making progress to redirect your thinking from what was and what hasn't been and from the past to something more hope-oriented, something that makes you feel hopeful along with hope-filled. It's just something that I've learned to say lately because, right, living in the past doesn't help us get to where we're trying to go. It just keeps us stuck. But being in denial about the past also doesn't help us move forward either. One of the things I've learned to share in the time that I've had the privilege of talking with parents as it relates to separation and divorce and anything related to child custody, you can't get to where you're trying to go until you first identify where you are. So even when it comes to operating principles, if I'm saying I want to go somewhere, am I honest about where I am right now? Am I honest about the fact that I'm not doing what I need to do? One of the things the pandemic revealed to me was how I was just being comfortable in what I was doing. I call it languishing. I felt like I was languishing. And I use that word to describe how I was feeling. Complacent would be another way to describe it. I wasn't really energized or enthused or active and understanding the reality of the pandemic. But then I had to change that if I wanted to see something different. And that actually led to the launch of our podcast. And so along with that, then there was the Better Place nonprofit. And we started connecting and collaborating with schools in the community. And then there was a Bible study that was launched, Prepare for Impact. And now here we are today with the release of this broadcast. And so those operating principles, I've seen how when I'm consistent in being intentional about those type of things, including the word intentional, I've seen how it's changed my life. And so I want to offer that as well to you as the viewer. This show is dedicated to you. For anyone who has decided to join in, thank you. And then I started talking about confidence. And I believe we all are confident in doing something. This is what motivates us to do what we do. And then we grow in confidence as we look to engage in new activity. Even though I feel confident about what I do and who I am and my ability to speak, it's not every day I'm in a studio with cameras in my face and all the things that are going on around me. And so you do get nervous. I still get nervous as a teacher, standing in front of a group of kids, trying to make sure that they're going to engage with me in whatever lesson it is that I have to teach. And Shauna knows me well. When I have to deal with students who don't want to do what I need them to do, that really works on my confidence as it relates to teaching. But the more I continue to evolve, the more I continue to put intentionality in what I'm doing, the more I continue to do the things that I know is going to help me move from point A to point B, I see myself becoming more confident and being able to do those things. And then there's the confidence that comes from overcoming failure, things that we failed at, things that we feel defeated by, things that constantly discourage us, where we feel like there's no hope, there's no reason, no motivation, no why to move beyond where we are. When we actually start making progress in those areas of our lives, it helps us to become more confident. It actually challenges and motivates us to take on greater tasks because we now feel like we have the ability where we once didn't. And so then there's the next level of being confident in God. And so when I'm confident in myself and then I align that confidence with God, what I'm learning is that that's what makes me want to do the kind of things like Nehemiah did, where he wanted to give back to the community, even though he had his own job and he was living comfortably. In the Bible, the book of Nehemiah, Nehemiah decided, I want to help my community, Israel. I want to help them rebuild the wall. So what begins to happen when I begin to have confidence in myself and confidence in God, it causes me to want to look at how who I am can now be contributed to the world around me in a way where I believe I'm actually going to make change. And believe it or not, I had a conversation one particular year, the school community in which I now serve. I was asked, it was kind of like a pseudo interview, and I was already assigned to the school community, but they didn't know who I was. And so they kind of went through this pseudo interview. And the question was, why should we hire you? And I told them, I said, look, no one has ever asked me that question before. So I'm gonna be honest with you, I really don't have an answer to that. But understanding that this is a pseudo interview, if I did have an answer to it, what comes to my mind, I said, I believe I'll make this a better place. I said, I've seen it throughout my career. I'm comfortable and confident in saying that wherever God has sent me, the place has become better as a result of it. So there's a level of confidence that I believe when we align it with God, understanding who we are, there's an impact that comes from that. It has nothing to do with me or my ability. I know I can't do anything without God. But I also understand, because of what God says in his word about who I am as it relates to how he created me and the ability that he gave me, I do understand when I align myself with him, I'm going to be impactful. I am going to leave an impact or an imprint in a way that's going to bring about change. This whole studio exists because someone believed that they had the ability to create an environment by which the community could be inspired. And I know a lot of that belief comes from who we understand ourselves to be and who we were created to be by God. And so I want you to be able to walk away from this message that I'm sharing with you today, today's segment, my first show, Believe, where I look to inspire, influence, and impact others. This show being dedicated to you. I want you to continue to cultivate and nurture your confidence in yourself. And then watch as you learn to align your confidence with God and watch what he does with you, in you, and through you for his glory and the good of others. I really want to thank you for tuning in with me today. I am Cortland Jones, author, educator, and entrepreneur. This is Believe, where we inspire, influence, and impact, sponsored by Vision and Purpose Media Productions. Thank you for tuning in. Take care, and God bless.